everybody. It is October 29th, 2016. We are still a few months out of tax season, but we wanted to start the program early this year. Normally we just do it, end of the year, December, January, and then go through tax season. But this year we just had to there was so much going on, Todd. My engineer this morning, Todd, and got Karen and Canyon here. This program is so huge, I have 3 engineers now helping me with it. When you have this much information all packed into 1 hour, and I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank everybody that called me, called Jim, called the station after we got done last year and said, when are you going to bring that Gilbert guy back? I really want to thank everybody. A lot of people did, and Jim asked us, he'd like us to do this all year long. I just didn't think people wanted to hear about taxes all year long, but they said, you talk about everything. So we are going to talk about everything this morning. It's going to be Gilbert Talks Politics, Gilbert Talks Obamacare, Gilbert Talks Trump, Gilbert Talks Gilbert Talks emails, Gilbert Talks Too Much. That's what it's going to be. But I really want to thank everybody, and I want to say a special good morning to Pete and Deborah. Came to the office yesterday, and we just had a wonderful time, had a great meeting, and good morning. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the program. Really, we started to do the program, and I can't forget my wife, who is handling everything behind the scenes, Christy. She's been my biggest supporter, and couldn't do this without her. I want to, I really don't know, I make notes during the week of things I want to say, and the latest news report upends everything I want to talk about. I want to talk about Obamacare because that is just where do you even go? This program's only 1 hour long, but I want to talk about Obamacare. And I told Todd, I said, do we have a gloat meter here in the studio? Because if I start to gloat, please, if that needle starts to move, just stop me. When I started the program, oh, wait a minute, I need to tell people who I am. I'm Gilbert Carmona. I'm an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person that is enrolled with the IRS to represent taxpayers in all kinds of nasty matters that you may have with the IRS. I do tax preparation, I do consulting, I do tax planning, I do estate planning, all kinds of planning. My goal is to reduce your tax liability. That is the bottom line. That is the purpose I exist, to make sure that your return is filed accurately, legally, lawfully, following the thousands of rules and regulations that the IRS has laid out for you, but to reduce that tax burden. That's the bottom line. Nobody comes into my office saying, Gilbert, I didn't pay enough taxes last year. I really think I want to pay a little bit more. I want to pay my fair share. That's what nobody, that's what politicians would like you to believe that you're supposed to do, but nobody does that. So as an enrolled agent, I am like a CPA and like a tax lawyer. Actually, we're the 3 categories of people. Questions are just coming in on my phone. Let me turn that sound off. People are asking me, they've already got the questions. So I'll be answering as many as I can. This is live radio. I'll be answering as many as I can. If I can't, I will send you an email or a text back to answer your question. So the 3 categories of people that can represent you in an audit, in an appeals matter, represent you as your power of attorney before the IRS or any taxing authority in any state that you may have any issue with, is enrolled agents, CPAs, or tax attorneys. There's actually only 42,000 enrolled agents nationally. The testing is very stringent. The continuing ed to keep my status up is grueling, and very few people do it. But I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy taxation, and I enjoy helping people get around this little maze that we call the IRS. I have 2 offices. One here at 113 Whitesides Road in Rutherfordton. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. I have another office in Polk County, downtown Tryon, at 226 South Trade Street in Tryon in the beautiful Art Deco building. And you can just call my main number if you want to make an appointment. The Tryon office, we typically see people there by appointment. It's not a walk-in office, but this office here is a walk-in office. We keep it staffed Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If you have any questions, any issues, anything that you remotely don't understand, letters from the IRS, tax rules, regulations you don't understand, really get some help. The day of doing your own tax return are just over. There is no such thing as a simple 1040 anymore. It used to be. I remember, Todd, when I was in college, filing my tax return over the telephone. You could call the IRS and you could literally just go through and with your touch-tone phone file your tax return. Those days are over. It just doesn't exist anymore. And I'm going to talk about Hillary and taxes in a minute, but if she has her way, the average tax return is going to be 100 pages. It is going to be, she really believes, don't let me get going on this too early, she really believes that the way to economic prosperity is through taxation, rules, government regulation, and bigger government. And of course that means more taxes. So today I'm going to talk about Obamacare. I'm going to talk about scams. Again, scams. Remember, I said that the biggest problem that was going to face the IRS was not all of these other issues they were talking about. It was not their lack of government funding, which this year they haven't sounded the alarm yet because it's too early. They'll sound that alarm around December. That Congress isn't giving them enough money and they're going to have to lay off IRS workers and we're going to have to wait like 5 years for our refund. That'll happen in December. That's every year the commissioner does that. That's not going to be their biggest problem, or all the tax that they don't collect. That's that fictitious number that they make up that they tell you that has no basis. It has no mathematical basis, that number. They make up this number that because we don't have enough people, we're not going to collect $39 quintillion. And it's some number that's just nobody even understands. It's got so many zeros, and it's a made-up number. Nobody knows. Nobody knows how much money they're not collecting, because nobody. There's no way to figure out that kind of enforcement. But that's not going to be the biggest. They call it the tax gap. That's not going to be their biggest problem. Their biggest problem is going to be, and I said it 3 years ago. I said it 2 years ago. I said it last year. Their biggest problem is going to be ID theft, and it is mind-boggling, the ID theft that goes on. But good news on the scams front, they just made a major arrest in India. I'll talk about that, which is really major because all of these scams have been offshore. People that have gotten those phone calls know you're talking to somebody with a foreign accent, obviously in a foreign country. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but we're going to take a break here in a minute. Obamacare, and I deliberately calmed down a little bit. I called it from day one. Tazia's nodding yes. Right here. When I came on the air, the first time I came on the air, I did this for a number of reasons. I wanted to educate people about taxes. Of course, I wanted to get my name out there as a service to the community, because we do service this community and we take our responsibility to the community very serious. And we wanted to let people know that I was out there as a resource, not just as a paid preparer, as a paid business, but as somebody who can answer your questions, because there's a lot of questions. So I really went out on a limb. Now today you look back and go, I didn't go out on a limb enough. But when Obamacare first came out, if you talked bad about it, you were labeled something. You at worst, you were labeled a Republican, and somebody who's just not against. You hate children because you don't want them to have insurance. You hate old people. You hate people. No, it wasn't about that. It's just when I read it, and I read the rules and the regulations, and I read the way they were going to implement this through the tax return, and the fact that they were going to make people do something that they didn't want to do, I said, this is doomed to failure. There's no way this is going to work. Oh no, it's going to work. People will do it. No, it's not going to work. And then as more and more came to light and we read more and more, I went out on a limb. Everything I said has happened. all the exchanges, originally there were 22 exchanges, we're down to 7. Of all the states that started their own exchange, 22 of them did it. Today we're down to 7. And really, congratulations to our governor. Whether you're going to vote for him or not, that's between you and God. But if he didn't do anything right, he did this right. He did not start an exchange in the state. He didn't take the bait that the government promised him, and he said no. And so did so many other governors and so many other states, and all the ones that did set up exchange, it's been a dismal failure. And the money it's going to cost them is huge, just huge. And let's just talk about the fact that open enrollment, by the way, starts November 1st. But let's talk about the fact that they said, and I want to say this correctly because I'm going to go out on a limb again, Todd. Put that saw away. I'm going to go out on a limb. They said in North Carolina rates are going to go up 25%. That's the media telling you that. And if anything came out of this election, we know the media lies. The media lies big. They're not reporting news. They're trying to create news. And that is unacceptable because that's not their job, to make news. The media says that rates in North Carolina are going to go up 25%. I'm going to tell you today it's going to be 125%. Okay? It is going to double. Todd just went back. Now you had a friend, it went up how much? 150%. Todd just told me this morning, but I had been saying 125%. In Arizona, we know officially 116%. But I heard somebody say 118%, but hey, plus or minus, right? It's 100 and something percent. And you just watch. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't seen the truth yet. I said insurance companies would be bailing out. They're not going to stick around. Insurance companies are for-profit businesses. They're not like our government. They're not a 501c3 nonprofit. They are a for-profit business, and they are the granddaddies of all the for-profit businesses. I mean, that's what they're all about. Who owns all the big buildings? Insurance companies. How did they get them? Selling insurance, collecting premiums, not paying out on premiums. So they're bailing out. There's only one left. We're down to one choice in 90 counties, in 90 out of the 100 counties. We're down to one choice, and the other 10 counties I think might have two choices. So everything I said happened. And the saddest part, we're going to get to the break and then I'm going to come back and talk some more about it. The saddest part is that Obama said we were going to have huge enrollment and all these people that were uninsured. I don't even remember the original number because it changed so much, but we had just millions and millions and millions of people that were uninsured were now going to be insured. And all these lives were going to be saved because all these people that died from not having insurance. The whole thing was just smoke and mirrors to get people on board to a program so that this president could have a legacy, and his legacy was socialized health care. Bottom line, he didn't care about how it got done. He just cared that it got done. So when it's all said and done, only 1.9% more people are insured now than were insured before this whole mess started. That's not even the number of people that were uninsurable. So even the people that were uninsurable, that were supposed to jump on this thing and get insurance for the first time in their lives, even they haven't done it. Let's take a break, Todd. We're going to come back and we'll talk a little bit more about Obamacare, and then I'm going to go talk about scams, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Hillary's tax plan. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes right here on WCAB 590 AM.
I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone. offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
My closet keeps shrinking my clothes. And if you have that problem, take them to Nancy at Nancy's Alteration Shop at 610 South Broadway, Forest City. Call Nancy at 248-2345. Wear the clothes you like to wear. Let Nancy bring them back to life for you. That's Nancy's Alteration Shop, 610 South Broadway, Forest City.
What can I say about Cafe at the Mall, Cafe to Go, and 10 North Trade Cafe Bakery that can do them justice? The cakes, fresh-baked breads, sandwiches, and salads, everything is delicious and perfect. Whether it's sit-down dining, lunch on the run, or catering for any occasion, Cafe at the Mall, Cafe to Go, or 10 North Trade Cafe Bakery is the place to go. Stop in at Cafe at the Mall, Cafe to Go, and 10 North Trade Cafe Bakery and mention Gilbert Talks Taxes and get a free cranberry oatmeal cookie, the official cookie of Gilbert Talks Taxes.
Good morning, welcome back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes right here, WCAB 590 AM. It's beautiful, beautiful. It was a crisp morning this morning, October 29th. What is the temperature outside? 49.4. A little glare on that, I can't see it. 49.4 right here at the beautiful WCAB studios. And they are beautiful, recently remodeled. 50th anniversary. 50th, that's really wonderful. That is really, really wonderful. This is a very unique community radio, and I'm proud to be part of it. I really am. And I can't thank Jim enough for doing this and keeping this going. And it's so unique. Todd showed me the little text. Thank you. Todd showed me the little text from his friend. 150% increase in his Obamacare. Thanks, Obama. Now remember, we weren't supposed to call it Obamacare. We were supposed to call it the Affordable Care Act. Affordable Care Act. The first word. Now they're calling it Obamacare. They're calling it about. I called it. What did I used to call it? The Unaffordable Care Act. And I really went out on a limb because this thing could have been the greatest thing, and it could have been wonderful. And Gilbert, what were you talking about? But no. I nailed it, and looking back, I didn't say enough. I didn't say enough because there was a lot of things that I could have called. Again, you've got to understand, if the government wants to do anything, they've got to do it for free. There can't be any, I don't know any other way to say it, any flaming hoops that you have to jump through. This thing is incredible what you have to do. And the people that designed it don't understand. They just don't understand how people are. Today, people don't work the same job 45 years. You do if you're a bureaucrat. You do if you work for the government. If you're, congressman, because they don't get voted out. You remember, and Trump, by the way, mentioned his name Wednesday night at his Kingston rally. He mentioned the name Jonathan Gruber. Jonathan Gruber is the architect of Obamacare. Those of you that remember that rant I went on. By the way, Deborah, I'm really trying to not go on a rant today. I was just talking to one of my listeners there. She said she likes when I go on a rant. So I'm really going to try to be calm today, but it's hard. It's hard. I remember that one well. Dr. Gruber. He was called the architect of Obamacare. And then somebody had an iPhone at a meeting, and he said the only reason it passed is because of the stupidity of voters. The stupidity of voters. That's why it passed. And he was pretty much laughing at us. And of course he was called before Congress and so on and so forth. And Nancy Pelosi, that's when Nancy Pelosi said, I didn't know anything about it, but 2 years earlier on her website, she had a glowing review of how wonderful he was, and that's when I said, liar, liar. My Bible, I did not call Nancy Pelosi a liar. I just said, my Bible says liars go to hell. I'd like to know what Nancy's Bible says. Because, it's blatantly, but they blatantly lie all the time. They wouldn't know the truth. They don't know the truth. But, I'm really grateful for the internet because we can now go back and pull these things up and say, look, you said it. And just like with me, look, you said it. Hey, I did say it, and I'm so glad I did. Everybody here wants me to talk about Trump. Nobody wants to hear about Obamacare. Okay, it's a dismal failure. I'll be talking more about Obamacare as we go on. I was right. There are going to be fees and penalties this year. Now, should Trump win, I guess I've got to say it that way, not when Trump wins. Should Trump win, we're still going to be stuck with this because this is old law. It's going to play out through the 2016, which is in 2017, the 2016 tax filing season, the 2016 tax returns. It's going to play out. If you don't have insurance, you're going to have to pay the penalty. What's going to happen after that? Trump has promised to repeal and replace. I personally think he's going to do what should have been done from the beginning. Just expand Medicare and Medicaid. Just all children are covered under the plan. All elderly people are covered under the plan. And people that want to be covered can just opt in and pay, opt out, not pay. There's no downside for not doing it. It's your choice. Because I was going to say, these politicians don't understand the work cycle, like Mr. Gruber, who's been an MIT professor his whole life. Basically went to college and never left. That's not how Americans are. Americans, they'll have a job, they'll quit a job, they'll get fired from a job, they'll lose a job, a business will close. You're in, you're out. You remember the story I told about the insurance that an insurance agent told me early on. The couple comes in, the lady says to him, I don't work, my husband's going to start collecting Social Security, we need insurance, so he got him a heavily subsidized insurance plan based on the fact that she doesn't work. 6 months later, he goes into Hardee's right here in Rutherfordton, goes into Hardee's, and he sees his client back there making biscuits. And he says, oh, Gladys, not her real name. Oh, Gladys, hey, you're working here. You told me you didn't work. Oh, yeah, oh, how long have you been here? Oh, since December. Well, I sold you that insurance in November. Yeah, well, that insurance rate was based on you not having a job. Are you just working part-time? Oh, no, work full-time. Work full-time, love it. As a matter of fact, I work overtime. Did you notify the exchange of this? Oh, no. Why should I? Oh, because your subsidy was based on you not having a job. I see it all the time. People come in, do their tax return, and they have to pay back a huge amount of money. I've had people that have had to pay, I've had 2 instances where people have had to pay back as much as $7,000 because they were so heavily subsidized because they didn't understand when they got Obamacare. I had one that she got on the phone with somebody at the exchange, which brings up another thing that I said. I said early on, this was going to fail because the people helping you were not licensed insurance agents. You remember early on, the governors, I think it was about 20-something of them, the governors and the insurance commissioners of the state, they have different titles, but they're basically insurance commissioners. Every state has an insurance commissioner. It may not have that title, but there's a person responsible for it. Insurance is a heavily regulated industry. They told the president himself that the people that are working for the exchange, 25,000+ of them, are not licensed individuals. They are not qualified to be giving out insurance advice. And the president pretty much told them, mind their own business. These are government workers. They do not have to be licensed in any shape, manner, form. They are trained and pretty much mind their own business. Well, the president was wrong. These commissioners were right. I had a lady, she's talking to the healthcare.gov worker, and she says, well, I made this much money, I made this much money, I made this much money. And he says, well, you won't get a subsidy, that's too much money, so say you only made this much. Now, that's my client's side of the story. I'd like to hear the other side of the story, but I've heard this enough that I believe it. So I do the tax return, and I have to tell them that you're 400% above the poverty level. You shouldn't have gotten any subsidy, let alone a $5,800 subsidy. Oh, and by the way, now you got to pay that back, and you have like 4 weeks to write that check. So I hope you have $5,800 laying around. Exactly. And this scenario has panned out all over the country so many times that it's just not even funny. So that's pretty much Obamacare. I'm going to talk about it some more next week, and we'll talk about the penalties and the fees. Should you get insurance? Should you not get insurance? That's up to you. That is totally up to you. I'm not going to tell you to do it or not to do it. I'm going to tell you the consequences of not doing it. And I'm also just going to tell you that the deductibles are so high, as Trump said, you almost have to get hit by a tractor to make it worth your while. Let's take another break, Todd. You're listening to Gilbert Talks Taxes right here, WCAB 590 AM.
A good sign is good business. Make your business stand out with a professional sign from DS Signs and Graphics. Successful companies all over the Carolinas are trusting Alex at DS Signs and Graphics. He has the artistic ability to present your company's image in the best light. Not only display signs, but DS Signs and Graphics can customize banners of all sizes. And if you need magnetic signs or window and vehicle lettering, call on DS Signs and Graphics today. They offer a full line of signs and graphics for any event. 3D, sandblasted, storefront, and monument signs are part of the complete selection of quality signage. Professional signs and banners to fit any budget. Let your business stand out. Call DS Signs and Graphics today. That phone number is 286-4900. Or stop by the sign shop located on Main Street in downtown Spindale. And check the website for more suggestions at dssignsandgraphics.com.
People say to me all the time, Gilbert, your hair looks fabulous. How do you do it? The answer is simple. Robin Saunders at RSL Salon, 279 Shiloh Road in Forest City. Now, anyone that can make you look this fabulous is only available by appointment. So you've got to call Robin at 289-9110 and tell her you want to look as fabulous as Gilbert. RSL Salon also does gel nails. If you need a pedicure, shellac, or gel nails, call Emily at 447-3524 and she will fix you right up. That is RSL Salon at 279 Shiloh Road in Forest City. You can call Robin at 289-9110 or Emily at 447-3524 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
Yes, my hair looks fabulous. It really does today, too. Thank you, Robin. She cut my hair Monday. She said, you need to look fabulous for your first day back. Now, yes, I'm on the radio, but I do video record the program, and we are live streaming. Where, Todd? www.wcab59am. And I want to thank our Northland Cable subscribers that are listening to us, and those of you... Click Listen Live. Yes, you go on there and you click Listen Live, and you'll see me right here in the blue room, looking great, and you can see kind of Todd sometimes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. The internet's wonderful. The information we can get is wonderful. It's a great source of information, but it is also a great source of misinformation. It can be used both ways. So Trump, everybody wants to talk about Trump. I will talk about Hillary's tax plan, or lack of a tax plan, because it's the same old liberal line. Tax the rich. Okay, but at what point do you start the rich? The couple that met with me yesterday, Pete, said something, and I know they're listening. Pete, that stuck with me all night. He was talking to somebody, and he was listening to something, and somebody said, have you ever worked for a poor man? I mean, have you ever worked for a business that's owned by a poor man? Every business is owned by a rich man, or a group of rich people, or at least people that have some means about them. have some money, some ways to get some money. I mean, I've never worked for a homeless man in my life. I've never worked for a poor man. I mean, I actually, when I was in the corporate world, I worked for one of the wealthiest CEOs at this time. I mean, he didn't have a private jet because he wanted a private jet. He had a private jet because he had to have a private jet to get around. I mean, he was that busy. He had that much going on. So these are the people that basically Hillary wants to tax. I've got a client. Okay, let me go. Let me go. Let me go there. She's steering me back to Trump. Yeah, Trump. Yeah. Don't start chanting "Drain the swamp." Okay. Let me hit this, and then I'll go into that. Hillary Clinton's, and you can go to her website, and her tax plan is basically tax the rich because the rich do not pay their fair share. I have clients that make $3.2 million a year. I have clients with net worths in excess of $10 million. Not a lot of money, really, in today's world. It's really not. These are business people who run businesses. Well, the SBA, Todd's shrugging his shoulders. Like, what do you mean there's not a lot of money? Where can I get this not a lot of money? Well, you're not going to get it from Hillary. The SBA considers a small business anything under $14 million a year. And I've talked about that on end. That is not a small business. $14 million a year is a colossal business. But SBA, that's just government thinking for you. You know, $1 billion here and $1 billion there, and pretty soon you're talking about real money. That's their mentality. And that was said back in the 60s. So they don't even think that's real money. But I've got clients, $3.2 million. We write the checks, so I know this is a fact. These people pay $1 million a year in taxes. Tell him he's not paying his fair share. And you can say, oh, well, he's got $2 million left over. No, wrong. Your thinking is way wrong. Because that $2 million he reinvests. And people have jobs because of that. People work for him because of that. I had a conversation with a man who is getting ready to sell a business, and I'm doing the bookkeeping and the paperwork on the back end to make the sale happen. And we're looking at about a, I don't know, $5-6 million sale, whatever. We don't know yet. And so he's going to pay off all the business debt, and he'll have, several million left over. And, well, what are you going to do with that money to start another business? He said, no, I'm tired of giving the government money. I'm tired of giving them taxes. So he's not going to be employing people. He's not going to be reinvesting that money in the community. He's not going to be helping people. There are 8 to 10 families that are not going to have jobs because he is not going to do that. Why is he not going to do it? Because of our government. So Hillary thinks that taxing the rich is how we're going to get out of this problem. It's the other way around. The bottom line is she wants taxes. That's just the bottom line. But let's talk about, real quick, and we're going to go to Trump, let's talk about who the rich are in Hillary's mind. Because when she says I'm going to tax the rich, she's counting on middle class, which have been devastated. The African American middle class, Trump said it the other night, the African American middle class has been decimated. They have been decimated by these Democrat policies. So the middle class and poor people, when Hillary says I'm going to tax the rich, you think of these rich people sitting on their boats talking about how they're going to spend all their money. That's the uber rich, the super rich as we call it, people that are in the $1 billion class, and they're not paying taxes, folks, because they hire an army of people like me that dissect the tax laws so that they don't pay taxes. Believe me, those laws are there for them, and those laws are there, and they take advantage of them. As Trump told Hillary, those laws are there. I take advantage of them. You want me to pay more taxes? Change the laws. The laws are there. Who Hillary's talking about is people that are making more than $180,000 a year. That Medicare 3.9% tax phases in at, the 0.9% tax that goes on the Medicare, that goes on top of the Medicare, the additional tax, which is 0.9, which is huge, phases in at $188,000. That is not a lot of money. It really isn't. The tax increase is going to be on everybody, because it always is on everybody. It shifts the tax bracket. AMT, which these are complicated tax things. I don't want to get into it. It's more than I can do in the little bit of time I have. But AMT tax is it's because of what we call bracket creep. It exceeds the limits it was supposed to. The whole thing needs to be revamped. We need less taxes. That's just the bottom line. And like I told somebody, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot, because people in my profession are rooting for Hillary, because there's more regulation, means more work, more taxes, more tax returns to do. There is no such thing as a simple corporate tax return anymore, and it's going to get worse. But what's good for the people? This is not good for the people. It is not tax the rich. It's tax everybody. So let me get to Trump. Finally. Wednesday, have I said enough? Have I hit it on Hillary's tax plan? There was one other thing I wanted to say about that.
You'll get to it.
Okay. Let me get to it. Remind me that I want to talk about how her estate tax plan will destroy people's inheritances. It will destroy people's inheritances. She has figured out a way to tax your inheritance. And this whole estate plan is to cripple. And people say, well, I don't get a big inheritance, or I'm not going to get an inheritance. But you would be surprised. There are a lot of people that get $40, $50, $60, $70,000. You know, Uncle Marvin, God bless Uncle Marvin. I've had a lot of people this year that have had an Uncle Marvin die. He didn't leave them millions, but he left them a couple of $100,000, $50,000. Uncle Marvin, okay, I'm going to get into it. Uncle Marvin, this is a classic example. Uncle Marvin lived up in Sunshine. Uncle Marvin worked at a mill his whole life. This is a true story. Uncle Marvin's not his real name. But like Uncle Marvin, I've had 5 this year. People that have come in, the people that inherited the money. I had 1 in Henrietta, I had 1 here in Sunshine, I had 3 in Polk County. Uncle Marvin, nobody knew Uncle Marvin had money. He was just sweet old Uncle Marvin. He worked at a mill here for 35 years, never married, didn't have children, loved his nieces and nephews, loved his whole family. They loved Uncle Marvin. Well, Uncle Marvin dies, and they get a phone call from the attorney. It's really funny because this story is almost identical with all five of my clients. They get a phone call from the attorney. Uncle Marvin left you an inheritance. And, oh, really? We didn't even know Uncle Marvin had any money. How much money did Uncle Marvin leave us? Well, Uncle Marvin had an estate worth $1.5 million. They all said, no, you got to be mistaken. This is Uncle Marvin. He lived up in Sunshine, had a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And they said, yes, but Uncle Marvin worked at the mill for 35 years, had a pension plan, had a retirement plan, had 45 acres on the side of a mountain that's worth about, $800,000. And Uncle Marvin did something that nobody does today. Uncle Marvin saved his money. And Uncle Marvin bought U.S. savings bonds. We found about 200 of them in a drawer. And by the way, Uncle Marvin also bought stock in the mill that he worked at. And Uncle Marvin had insurance, he had this, he had that. Inheritances are tax-free, or there's no tax on an estate, up to $5.2 million. Hillary wants to cut that down in half, which really means she wants to cut it down to about $1 million. Actually, she'd like to eliminate that threshold altogether. That's my opinion. She hasn't said that in public, but if she's talking about cutting it in half, I guarantee you she'd like to cut the whole thing. And tax inheritances is ordinary income. Okay, so she cuts it in half. Let's just say she cuts it down, just to use round numbers, she cuts it down to $2.5 million. That means there's tax on anything over $2.5 million. Which you think, well, I don't know anybody that's got $2.5 million. These people didn't think Uncle Marvin had 1.8, I think it was 1.8, the total, then the lawyer's fees and everything to probate and the taxes, I think there was like 1.5 left. And they still don't know, they won't close the case with this one Uncle Marvin from Sunshine. They won't close the case because they're still finding stocks and bonds. And they want to make sure all the insurance money and everything has come in, so they just disperse some money to the heirs, and now they're going to wait another year. They're going to let it sit through probate one more year. But I've got another one. She's going to leave $3.2 million to 3 children and a slew of grandchildren. So 3.2 million, if it gets cut down, that means there will be a 50% tax on 1.2 million. So basically, every one of those heirs is going to get about $100,000 to $200,000 less. So this affects people, real people, right here. It's not the rich. It's everybody. And that's what you got to see. Don't take the bait. Okay, let's take this last break, and I promise I'm going to talk about Trump.
Suffering from numbness in your feet, leg cramping, pain when you walk, difficulty sleeping from leg and foot discomfort? Well, you need to see Dr. Jerry Gross at Foot and Ankle Center of the Carolinas. Your feet don't have to hurt. Call 245-6405 today.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889. Mention you heard Kimberly on WCAB 590 AM, and Peterson will give you $20 off a full detail or $5 off your next North Carolina inspection. Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop, a place I feel comfortable going to.
I want to welcome Tim Schlabach and Foothills Photo Works, a professional hybrid commercial photography studio. If you're concerned about your social media image, listen up. Whether you're an executive, real estate broker, lawyer, or business owner, your image matters now more than ever. And you know first impressions count. Whether you need professional portraits, corporate headshots, images of your products or facility, aerial photography, and videos of buildings, boats, or large acreage, affordable professional help is here for you. Foothills Photo Works can create media that will help your prospects get to know you better and help you look your best. Foothills Photo Works is located at 362 Charlotte Road in Rutherford, North Carolina, but you need to call for an appointment. That number is 828-668-2304. Mention this ad and receive 15% off your first session. That's 828-668-2304. Foothills Photo Works, your media professionals.
This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, right here, 590 AM. WCAB. I'm sorry, we're just here laughing. We're having a good old time here. I'm glad to be back. I really am genuinely glad to be back. I'm glad to be back with you, the people of Rutherford County. I'm glad to be back. That's all I can say. If you need me, you've got any tax issues, financial planning, whatever you want to talk about, you want to talk about Trump, you want to talk about Hillary, Obamacare, give me a call. 828-289-9300. Okay. So I promised, I was going to talk about the scam. They arrested 700 people in India, in Mumbai, that were the ones that have been calling everybody, telling them you're going to be arrested if you don't pay the money you owe the IRS. They got $15 million a week on average. This scam was working major, but it got narrowed down to one group, and the FBI, CIA, and a concerted effort with the Mumbai police in India. Mumbai, is a huge city, incredible poverty in that city. So in Mumbai, and they arrested 700 people. This is major international news. It's a cooperative effort. It just goes to show the IRS takes this seriously, and we're so glad this happened. I'll talk more about it next week. It's really a whole story in itself. But so you may have noticed your phone stopped ringing, telling you that you were going to be arrested if you didn't pay your IRS bill immediately. They're still out there doing it. There's still scammers doing it, but the reduction has been incredible. Okay, Donald Trump. In the 3 hours I've got left, right, Todd? We're going to let the show run long today? No. Show's only on from 8 to 9. We did start a little bit late today. We let ABC News run through, so Todd said he's going to give me a few minutes there on the back end. So, Donald Trump. I want to start with this. When Donald Trump, when it became obvious he was going to be the Republican nominee, I had mixed feelings, because As a Christian, I want a candidate that I can at least stand behind his beliefs. I can at least stand behind something. I saw, and don't get me wrong, I like Donald Trump. Let me say that right away. I like him. I've always have liked him. I've respected him as a businessman. I've respected him as a fighter. I read Art of the Deal back in 1987, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember. I had a copy of it when it first came out. I loved his lessons, the things he learned, the things he'd done. He's a very successful man. And back in the 80s, the real estate market was brutal. Real estate developing was brutal. He had success after success after success. And there's a lot of projects in New York that he's done that people aren't even aware of. You know, the skating rink in Times Square, that's his project. He's the one that made that happen. And the famous skating rink that you see in all the pictures of New York. You skated there. Todd skated there. That's a Donald Trump project, brought in on time and under budget. So I liked him as a businessman, but as a candidate, as a Christian, I said, I don't know how. Can I support this man? Can I really get behind this man? So in reading my Bible one day, I came across Jeremiah 27, and if you start in 5, Jeremiah speaking, God told him, I have made the earth, the men, the beasts that are upon the face of the earth, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and I give it to whomever it seems right and suitable to me. And now I have given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, my servant and instrument, and the beasts of the field also I have given him to serve him. There's another scripture where he says, my servant whom obeys my voice. Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was a wicked king. Those of you that know the story, he was not a very godly man, but God was able to humble Nebuchadnezzar. And God told me, I can humble a Donald Trump, and you can support him. So, that's all I needed to know. And with that, I was settled, and with that, I support Donald Trump. And I have supported him when the allegations of his locker room talk, because that's what it's been called, all I had to say is, who hasn't had those moments? Who hasn't said something they regret? Circumstances change people. And I know that something he said 11 years ago, right? Correct? 11 years ago is not something he'd say today. I know something, I've said those things. I've said things I regret. I've said things I'm ashamed of. I've said things that I wish I'd never said. But circumstances change people. And who I was then is not who I am today. Who he was then is not who he is today. So I was still able to support him in all of this, and I felt like he genuinely, I don't know that he's repented, but I felt like his apology was heartfelt. Now, I had only seen Donald Trump on television. I met, by the way, as a side note, I met Ivanka in 2007. She came to Charlotte to speak at a real estate. I also have a real estate license, which I keep active, North Carolina, South Carolina real estate license. I was working in real estate years ago, and I've always kept my license, so I'm still on these mailing lists. And I was invited to a development. There was a forum for developers in Charlotte, and she was the keynote speaker. And I went, and she spoke, and I was really impressed with her. This was 2007, so this had nothing to do with elections. And she spoke briefly, made a presentation, talked about their development in Dubai. And I thought, very articulate, very respectable, respected young lady, and I was impressed. So, but that's been my only experience with the Trumps, and of course reading his book, like I said earlier, and just knowing of him. But, so I see him on TV, and you hear the media's portrayal of him, and you hear what, then I would listen to a speech, or hear a speech, and then I would see what the media would say, and I would say, wait a minute, that's not what he said. I saw what he said. I heard what he said. That's not what he said. You took a 5-second soundbite out of a 45-minute speech. So all this time I'm thinking, no, that's not. The media is lying. The media is doing what the media does. They're not reporting news. They're reporting what somebody says, and they're twisting it. But Wednesday, actually Tuesday night, I got a phone call. A friend, inviting me to come to a by invitation only small meeting in Charlotte, only 700 people, that Trump was going to speak to. And Christy and I were invited to be part of that 700 people. I was honored, deeply honored. And we went, and it was at a small theater there in Charlotte, 700 people, and it literally felt like he was sitting in my living room talking to me. And I was maybe 75 feet away from him, so I saw him, and I heard him. And you cannot give me any media spin on what he said. The man is real, the man has a plan, and the man cares. When he said, I work for you, I don't work for lobbyists, I don't work for special interests, I haven't been bought. I've put $100 million of my own money into this campaign. And he looked at everybody and said, listen, that's a lot of money, even for me, okay? $100 million he's put into the campaign. You can actually listen to that speech. It's on YouTube. Just search Donald Trump 10/26 2016 speech, Charlotte. Now he also spoke in Kingston, which you got to listen to that one too. That one's an awesome one. But listen to the one about Charlotte, Donald Trump's speech 10/26 2016 Charlotte. You can listen to it on YouTube, and it's great. It's unedited. It's perfect. So we sat there, and he came. The media, and well, Hillary Clinton and the media says he doesn't have a plan. He's got a plan. He's actually got a very good plan. As far as taxes, because this is a tax show, he wants to do what I think is the most important thing that needs to be done. Reduce the corporate tax. Corporations are all offshoring. That means they have money in other countries because they can, because they're going to save money doing it, because they are a for-profit business, and taxes are one of the biggest expenses they have. So they are offshoring billions and billions. I don't even know what the number is. It's multiple billions of dollars these corporations are keeping offshore. It may even be in the trillions. I don't know. I need to search. I haven't found an accurate number. I've heard you hear 100 billion, 200 billion. Hey, a billion here and a billion there. It's a lot of money they have in these other countries, because if they bring that money back into the United States, they're going to get hit with a corporate tax of 35%. Everybody's been saying we need to get that tax down to 15%. We have the highest corporate tax, by the way, in the world. So don't believe that we need to tax the rich. No, we already have the highest corporate tax. So that tax needs to come back. That tax needs to be lowered so this money comes back into our country. It would be, to quote Donald Trump, it would be a huge investment. It would be a huge amount of money that would come back into this country that would fuel the economy. So that's number one that he's doing. He wants to lower taxes across all brackets. Now he's talking about a flat as a tax preparer, I can see I see pros and cons to a flat tax. I'd like to see a graduated flat tax to give poor people a little bit of a break. But he's all for the earned income tax credits. He's all for tax credits for children and disabled and all that. He doesn't want to change any of that. So he's got my vote there on that. He wants to go to a flat tax. That's great. I agree with a flat tax, and I disagree that the flat tax is going to be heavier on the poor people because, 5% of $100 is one thing to a poor person. 5% of $1 million. No, it's still 5%. Whether it's 100 or a million, it's still 5%, and that's what they don't understand. And it's going to give the wealthy people more money to invest, and that's the bottom line. So I agree with what he says. He's got a plan. He's got a plan for urban renewal. The money he would put into the cities, which I know we're mostly a rural community here, but there is a trickle-down. Ronald Reagan proved that. And any economist that mocked that and still mocks it Oh, trickle down doesn't work. No. Trickle down worked. The whole reason Bill Clinton had the booming economy he had was because of Reaganomics. Nobody talks about Clintonomics. Okay? It was a failure. It was a tax hike on everybody, and it set the pace, and it made a hole that George Bush was never able to dig out of, and Obama's never been able to dig out of. And I'm going to tell you the reason Obama is running multiple trillion-dollar deficits is because of these continued tax hikes. It just doesn't work. So trickle down does work, and it would affect us. And he's going to repeal these trade agreements. Everybody in this county knows NAFTA destroyed this county. Bottom line, NAFTA destroyed this county. It's right here. It's here at home. Anybody who doesn't believe that, I'll sit down with you. We'll go over a calendar. I will show you the day NAFTA got signed, and let's just tick off the months and every mill that closed after that. Every mill that closed after that. The only mill that stayed, the last mill to close, and I know it's 9:01. I'm running a little late here. Todd's getting ready to wind me down. But hold on a second. The only mill that stayed after one of the mills, I know we still have some small mills that are niche mills that for economic reasons are better to be here, but was Sara Lee, Haynes Printables. It was called Sara Lee there because of their dyeing facility. We still had an infrastructure here for their dyeing with the water. We have excellent water here in the foothills. It's recognized the world over in the textile industry as some of the best water for dyeing fabrics, dyeing cotton. And they kept that open because of that dyeing facility and because of the infrastructure with Forest City, the Public Works, the water department there, excellent. And they couldn't just duplicate that anywhere. It took them a little while, but they did. And they moved that facility out of here, and that's down in Mexico with the rest of them. So NAFTA killed us. Anybody that tells you it didn't doesn't understand. Have them call me. How can they call me? 828-289-9300. You can call me, and I'll explain it to them. Please vote. That's the last thing I want to say. Please vote. Please vote for your candidate, but please vote. And I hope God really speaks to you who to vote for. Please pray before you vote, but please vote. This is an urgent time. It's a critical time. And I think with that, Todd, I'm going to wrap it up. This has been Gilbert Talks Taxes right here, WCAB 590 AM.
$10,000 to the IRS? Call for your free, no obligation tax evaluation. You may even qualify for substantial relief and even forgiveness. I'm Ronnie Deutsch. The call is free. Call now. That's 800-943-1136. 800-943-1136. 800-943-1136.
The battle to